The School for Good and Evil 2 does not even need the new trailer to grab people's attention, as it does it pretty effectively. Sofia Wylie and Sophia Caruso have returned, and the urgency of this situation is even bigger. So if you're a fan of the first movie, then prepare for the second one. It seems to follow all the guidelines that we would expect from a youngster's movie: magic, drama, and competitive rivalry at its peak. It would be unbecoming of me to talk about the dynamics of the film and what one would possibly expect in the narrative without first acknowledging the astonishing ensemble of actors and behind-the-camera talents. Sofia Wylie reprises her role as Agatha, the character who turned the typical good on its head in the first movie. Wylie, who stood out last time, looks to add more layers and energy to the character this time around, going by the trailer. Sophia Caruso reprises her role as Sophie, the character whose transformation from good to evil, and maybe back to good, is perhaps one of the biggest hooks of the show. Sophie, that Caruso portrayed in the first movie as a woman of multiple facets and inner conflict, was also quite memorable, and the fans are curious how the character of Sophie will evolve. Apart from Wylie and Caruso, the series includes a great cast, including Lawrence Fishburne as the schoolmaster, Michelle Yeoh as Professor Anemone, and Charlize Theron as Lady Lesso. The reappearance of such characters with some fresh ones assures the top-notch revelation of more stratum, which the fans are looking forward to. Paul Feig, who directed the comedies Bridesmaids, Spy, and is back as the director. From the first movie, Feig demonstrated the amusing, sincere, and grand constantly, and it seems he's going to do twice the amount in the sequel. Retained for the second time in the chair of the screenplay writing are David Magee and Laura Solon, who will take charge of the narrative and adapt it from Soman Chayani's best-selling series so that the film doesn't lose itself in the adaptation process, but also brings something new to the table. To enjoy the next installment to the fullest, it's advised to refresh the memories of the first movie. The School for Good and Evil made us see what is the real-life origin of every fairy tale you're familiar with. It follows two best friends, Agatha and Sophie, who end up at the eponymous school that teaches them how to become the protagonist and antagonist of the stories created by others. Agatha, a girl expected to be a villain, is put in the school for good, while Sophie, a girl who wants to be a princess, goes to the school of evil. The new turn of events is that the plot, which is to be focused on friendship, identity, and distinctions between black and white, becomes more complex and darker. The first movie concluded quite dramatically, where Sophie has seemingly succumbed to the dark side, while at the same time Agatha is starting to show signs of disillusionment with a clear divide between the light and the darkness. Now on to the sequel. The new trailer shows us what is coming next, and it appears that the battle of the forces of light and dark is to get far more serious. Get ready for an amazing fight that will make the main characters find themselves in quite several rather incredible circumstances. Another aspect that was made in the trailer is a suggestion of an epic reversal, whereas the first film unmasked what we never thought was a part of the hero, as well as the villain, and gave the message of the shade of gray. Based on that appearance, the sequel is set to take that much even to another level. Throwing little details about the story, this teaser familiarizes the viewers with the relationships between the main characters and the main idea, which suggests to the viewers the switching of sides, betrayal, and how a twist can change the perspective of this series. The question about the concept of the world in the framework of the setting of the school is also dynamic and could be answered positively, taking into account the disclosed trailer. Sometimes, occasionally, there are such views of new locations at the territory of the school, and all of them look even more incredible than the previous. The names of the sets in the first movie were great, and the second film appears to be adding to that by establishing an even larger world. But at the core of any plot is the cast of players and their individual trajectories. The relation of sisters served as a foundation in the first movie, and it appears that in the second movie it will be taken to the limit. Therefore, it could be observed from the beginning of the movie and the trailer that repression was giving place to a new passion, and a deeper analysis of the couple will reveal that just like any individual, both characters have responsibilities with which they have to reconcile. At that, for Agatha, only the road seems to signify something she has to pursue throughout one's life, which is to embrace her power and her place in the world in which they exist. As a model for the optimist career, It was her conflict to rebel against this blatant demarcation of black and white. For the sequel, she'll have to wrestle for the gray meaning of white, even as she battles black. God only knows her purity will not be whitewashing it for her. Sophie likes her black side, although it was seen from the trailer that her welfare was not well off as planned. The last scene of the first movie depicts her deciding to become a villain fully and effectually, but the second movie hints at the process of transformation. Is she ready to finally sin, being evil, or is there still that side of her wanting a fairy tale? The trailer posed all these questions and left the viewers for too long to view the movie. It was indeed perfect. The trailer gave viewers a strong desire to watch the full movie. Although there are films that create high expectations for their sequels, this second part of The School for Good and Evil looks like a worthy continuation of the initial movie. One of the reasons is it's not just a replica of the first movie, which is quite common if sequels are involved. What it is doing, however, is expanding the world while developing the story, the mythos one might call it. Therefore, the tension is even greater. The sequel looks to be becoming darker and more adult than this one in the first movie. However, there's still this element of magic discovery that was appealing in the first part. Indeed, it is quite the juggle, but the materials gathered from the preview point out that the filmmakers have hit the nail on the head. There is one more component that might be identified in the trailer. It is the picture, or in other words, vision. The first movie was in the eyes because beginning with the sets right up to the costumes and special effects, it was incredible. Looking at things in this regard, it's evident that the subsequent film will be a lot worse than the former. The scenes that invoke staking look graver and the overall mood seems more intense. The environments are much more diverse, and all the effects are much tidier. There is a particular scene that is captured in this trailer. A particular character casts a spell, thus giving an impression that the space-time of this world is not set in concrete as people would expect. It's only but a moment, but discussing the filmmaking skills and the willingness to experiment of the people behind the movie, it cannot be omitted. Thus, I am anticipating the rest of the film to have an even stronger illustration because this emanates raw talent. The much-awaited The School for Good and Evil 2 has left a couple of questions that the trailer. What will the interpersonal relationship between Agatha and Sophie be like? Is this going to be the ultimate battle between right and wrong, and is the line between the two increasingly going to be blurred? Is it possible to change all that is evident about this world to people? Hence, clear the calendars and wait for the most enthralling and, in equal measure, inspiring journey at the cinema. Do you feel ready for a return to the school where kids' fairy tales and reality turn into a mystical and enchanted world? Do tell us your opinion in the comments and also subscribe to our channel.